Star Wars 7x7, episode 2329. Yesterday, I shared with you part one of our two-part interview with Bruce Vilanch, one of the writers of the original Star Wars Holiday Special, and today I am sharing part two with you as a belated Life Day special. Punch it! Bruce Vilanch, the six-time Emmy Award-winning comedy writer, songwriter, playwright, and also, as far as our Star Wars galaxy goes, co-writer of the Star Wars Holiday Special back in 1978. Now, the interview picks up with me asking Bruce whether the Star Wars Holiday Special affected the careers of the people involved with it negatively, and most of his answer is actually a patron exclusive. So if you are a supporter of Star Wars 7x7 at the 2187 level, then you will get to hear an extra 2.5 minutes of this interview that nobody else gets to hear. But there is a bit about Harrison Ford that Bruce says, and also about Art Carney, that will be where the interview picks up here on this episode. And he will also talk about his involvement with Star Wars going forward, which is comparatively very minimal, but there's a nice little note about Carrie Fisher there. Also about his encounters with George Lucas after the fact. And then the conversation is going to shift a little bit, and I'm going to talk with Bruce about his new musical, A Sign of the Times, and also a bit about the state of Broadway as it exists right now. So without further ado, here is the rest of my conversation with Bruce Vilanch, co-writer of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
I don't think anybody asked Harrison Ford to do any more, musical variety shows.
Probably not.
But I don't think his world was lacking as a result.
No. And I will say, everybody seems committed when I watched the show. And B. Arthur's number is fantastic. She, is fully committed to what she's doing. There's no
absolutely,
sense of them going, what have I signed on for?
Right. Yeah, they're all working at the top of their game. Even Art Carney, who I felt bad for, because his character was essentially a device to translate what the Wookiees were saying, because the Wookiees they're incomprehensible. And back then, the idea of using subtitles was anathema. They said nobody will read subtitles. Now the most recent Star Wars movie, half of it was subtitles, because they're all speaking in some different language, and also it's accepted now. Back then it was exotic. So we had to bring a character in who translated every time a Wookiee said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, are you feeling unwell?" He had to actually say that. So he was the intergalactic Tupperware salesman who was coming around, and he was we called him Morris the Explainer, because he was setting up the plot and explaining where everybody was, because the Wookiees couldn't do it. And they were the central characters of the story.
Right. Seems like a great idea at the time, maybe. Or maybe not.
It seemed like an idea of the time.
Yeah, an idea. Have you had any any desire or any other interest in Star Wars work from that point on? Did you think to yourself, man, I'd like the opportunity to do another Star Wars thing if I had the chance? Or have you ever had interactions with Lucas or anybody else related to it?
Well, I understood. Well, Carrie was a good friend of mine. We wrote things together, and I brought her on the Oscar show a bunch of times. But it was never. There was a long period where there was Star Wars inactivity, and then he rebooted the franchise. During that time, of course, all the haters emerged about the special, so it was not like anything I was ever going to be interested in. And George, in the process of disowning himself from the thing, was busy disowning himself from everybody who had been involved in it, except the people from the actual movies, who he of course kept up with. But I would run into him at Oscar shows and all that, and he would look down. He would look at the floor and just say, "Hello, Bruce," and walk away. My presence reminded him that there had been this thing that he was being, still being excoriated for.
The poor man. and for you, and I'm sorry that you've had to deal with any bile from anyone over this. Quite honestly, that's just
it's psychic violence. So far so good.
Yeah. So right now, though, you are talking to me from Delaware, as I understand it.
Oh, but you're well aware. Sorry, I love that lyric. Mel Brooks wrote that for the producers. Watching closely, the Delaware, of which you're well aware. And I just keep saying it over and over as I drive around. I'm in Wilmington, Delaware, doing a musical. I'm out of town with a musical.
It puts
This was Larry Gelbart, who was a great writer, used to say, if Hitler is alive, I hope he's out of town with a musical.
Oh, and hopefully it's springtime for Hitler, of course.
You're right. Exactly. It all comes down to Hitler. But actually, this has nothing to do with any of that. It's a new musical that I've written using all of Petula Clark's music from the 60s and a couple of other items because it's set in 1965 to 70. And it's an original book. So it's old music with a new book. So think Mamma Mia. Please think Mamma Mia.
Yes.
Think all 20 years of Mamma Mia, please. Don't, not Mamma Mia 2. That's okay. You don't have to think that, but please, Mamma Mia. So we're trying it out. We're trying it out at the Delaware Theater Company in Wilmington. We start previews as I speak to you. It's Wednesday night, the 28th of November, and then we open it. We open December 8th, and it runs through New Year's. So and it's a good show. It's called The Sign of the Times, and it's about a girl who leaves Columbus, Ohio in 1965, goes to New York, enters the world of Mad Men, and by the end of the show, she is one of the early feminists. So it's about female empowerment, which I understand is a popular subject these days.
Oh, yeah.
Although I've been working on it for a few years before that all had come back. That all happened before Me Too. But it's a good show. I'm really happy with it.
This is not the first time it's been put on, though. Is that right?
No, we did it at Goodspeed in Connecticut, which is a theater lab that does new shows, and we did it 2 years ago. Actually, I began before Me Too, and so since then, it's gotten more relevant than it was before, ironically, and it was a big hit in Goodspeed. So of course I had to rewrite a lot of it because that's what happens when you're a success. You have to fix it.
Of course.
Right. It sounds trippy.
Yeah, it does. And is it potentially headed to Broadway then?
It is potentially headed, yeah. We'll see. Not this production, a bigger production, but that's the goal, absolutely. I mean, there are New York jokes in it that I refuse to let go of just because we're in Delaware. Because I want them to stay in the show when it goes to New York.
Yeah, that's a requisite, isn't it?
I think. I mean, that's one of the reasons to do it. I mean, obviously, a show that gets to New York has more currency and a longer shelf life.
I mean, Hamilton has a bunch of New York stuff, even though it's about the American Revolution, which you think is more like Boston and Virginia. And
it does. It's ironic. I mean, Hamilton is so original and such a juggernaut. You'd think more producers would want to do original stuff, but no, they want to do brand things and movies and old shows with old music. They're scared. I mean, probably because everything is in Hamilton. Just an aside for any musical comedy geeks in the house.
Right. I think you have a very winning idea, though, and I wish you the best of success for it. And I hope that Mamma Mia is a pale comparison to it.
Oh, good. I'm with you.
When all is said and done. Well, Bruce, thank you again so much for taking time out of your schedule to chat with me about the show. I really appreciate it.
Great. I'm delighted.
And I wish you the best of success. And, again, keep your calendar clear for November of 2028 for that 50th anniversary.
It's there. I'll wheel myself in.
Thank you again.
Thanks. Take care.
All right, that's going to do it for my conversation with Bruce Vilanch, the co-writer of the Star Wars Holiday Special and the playwright for A Sign of the Times. That's going to do it for this episode of the show as well. Thank you so much for joining me for it. I hope you'll consider subscribing wherever it is that you are catching this show. And I hope you'll consider supporting this daily dose of Star Wars joy and getting a few neat rewards in the process by joining me as a patron at patreon.com/SW7x7. For now, though, it just remains for me to say, may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.